Thank you. There are a lot of layers to peel away on this. We want to bring in two different perspectives for the conversation. CNN legal analyst Laura Coates is a former federal prosecutor. Lee Steinberg is a sports agent and sports attorney. Good to have both of you with us. As we look at this, you expected this backlash in Brazil. They're seeing a lot of it as well here in the U.S. Lee, for Ryan Lochte, his career in many ways, I mean, he's done well. He's made money. He's been in multiple games. What's left for him at this point? Has this done his career in?
Here you have an athlete who has almost $6 million worth of endorsements from 7 major endorsers. And this is an incident which has been covered by thousands of different reporters, both electronic and print, and has overshadowed all the other Olympians who've spent their whole lives to get to this moment. So it's cast a pall over all of that, and not very popular with all our Olympians, from Katie Ledecky to our fabulous gymnasts. What he needs to do, and has needed to do quickly, is come forward. If I were advising him, I'd have him go back to Brazil, do a press conference, admit that he was wrong, apologize to Brazil, to the other athletes, to every constituency, admit wrong, make a gesture towards trying to somehow make it right, and then he could move on. He wants to go to another Olympics, but right now he is a villain in the eyes of the American public and also the international community. So he needed to move quickly. What happens now is you get this viral cycle of Lochte villain that goes over and over and over again. And by the time it's done, if he doesn't act and these other 3 swimmers don't apologize themselves, not the committee, this will be an enduring image that people view them through.
So that's the public perception angle of it. We mentioned, even just here in the U.S., the Daily News this morning calling him the Lochte mess monster, which is, of course, probably not what you want to come home to. But Laura, from a legal perspective, if he did follow Lee's advice, if he goes back to Brazil, what kind of ramifications could he face? What kind of potential charges are still a possibility, if any, at this point?
Well, it would be providing false testimony to a police officer, kind of like how we think about perjury here in the United States. But I would advise him really not to go back to Brazil, because if he goes back to Brazil, he has different ramifications and less protection than he would if he's actually abroad. But why people care about this case, Erica, and why the perception is so bad is not because it's a matter of semantics, whether or not he believed he was robbed or not. The point is that's not the story that he gave the officers down in Brazil. And it took away resources from possibly prosecuting other crimes and put a stain on Brazil that was not necessarily needed to be there. And so when you make a false report to police, people get very angry, particularly when you try to besmirch an entire nation who's already grappling with this perception that they cannot host a very secure Olympics. It's the same thing in the United States.
There's also the issue of the 3 younger swimmers who are younger than Ryan Lochte. There's been some question as to sort of how this all went down, who may or may not have been the ringleader in terms of the story or stories that we were hearing. What's the extent of the damage, Lee, on these 3 younger swimmers and their careers?
It has a negative impact on the way they're perceived. I go through this in damage control with American athletes occasionally, and the lawyers always want to have the best facts for their case. And what I tell the lawyers are, the best way to leverage your position is have a penitent athlete. Have the athlete apologize. It takes all the sting out of the case. But here they've been mum. We haven't heard a thing from them. The committee stood in front of them. They need to step up and take responsibility. We understand that young men make mistakes. It's not the hugest thing in the world. As long as they take responsibility and show they're repentant, then the healing process can begin, and over time it goes away. But as long as they sit silent and look at
the silence is deafening, as they say, right? Well, we'll be watching to see what we hear. As we saw, of course, 2 of them just arriving back in the U.S. We'll continue to follow that and the fallout. Lee Steinberg, Laura Coates, appreciate you both being with us this morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Erica.